Hey guys, so here is another video. So one last thing that I forgot to do in the last video, we should try to group these two pages, these two parts together since they are one. Okay, you don't want them to, have these sort of like individuality. You want to combine them together so that you have this page as one, and you want to do that by selecting the two layers and then clicking on this folder icon to have them in the same group, and you can give them a unique name like test 01 or something interesting. Just make sure that it is a unique name. Now let's go ahead to even create something more interesting. Now let's turn off this layer and create a new layer. Now after creating a new layer, now I'm going to be creating something similar to what we just concluded. However, this time around I'm going to be doing it on different layers. Why am I doing this? There's sometimes that when you're creating a coloring book and you want to add your text, you want some of the flowers to be overlapping some part of your text, so you want some of the patterns to be on individual layers. Now this is what we are going to be doing in this video. So I prefer this way, although it's a little bit more time taking, not that much, but it's just always better. And so we have this. So let's say we have these as our central pattern. Okay, so let's go ahead to change the brush tool, and don't forget we have been using the brush 14. You can always switch to some other brush patterns if you like. Okay, I don't really like these kind of patterns, so you can always switch through and see some even more interesting patterns that you can use. Okay, so I want to use this kind of pattern now. Now don't forget you want to create these on a lower layer, so I'm going to be clicking on this layer down here, create a new layer. So my new layer is just directly beneath the central layer, and so I can click right here, and click right. Okay, now I want to do these on different layers, so don't forget. So let's take one step back. So first I want to create a solid background for these over this one right here, that is the layer on top right here. So again, we're going to be creating a rectangle, a white rectangle, just under the first layer. Now it is currently on the layer, so we are going to be rearranging that so that it is just under the layer. Okay, and then we are going to be selecting the two layers and merge the layers. After merging the layers, you can go ahead to select the parts that are just outside using your quick selection tool W, and you can adjust the tolerance. However, since it's a solid white and black image, it is very easy to get it selected, and then you can delete these and do a Ctrl D. Now we can see our pattern right here. So we can proceed now to also create another pattern. Now it's going to be on another layer, and to do that you simply create a new layer and then activate your brush tool. You still have your pattern right here, and then you can create this, and you can also create this. Okay, that will be on the same layer, so I want to click undo, create a new layer. So just ensure that you create each of the patterns on new layers, and that way you have more flexibility when creating something interesting for your coloring book. And so we have these right here. Okay, so now to give more context to what I'm saying, let's say I want to write some text that is going to go under this guy. Of course, you can do that using the previous technique, since all the background are on the same layer. So you can have, say, a text, say, I am beautiful, and let's increase the size for that. Okay, so you can see that this currently is under the top layer, and I might want to give that a stroke to give you text some stroke, and I want to change the color. So let me bring it up so I can see what I'm doing, and I want to change the color to white so my peeps can paint in the white part of the text. Okay, so now it's currently on here. So let's say I want to sort of like have it just a little bit overlapping on this. All I want to do is to drag it under this layer, and you can see that a part of the mandala flower is now covering some part of the text, which will create this very interesting and even more flawless coloring page. And then let's say I want to add it under one of these guys as well. I can just drag it under one of the layers. Now this current layer that is under is this particular one here, so it's not having effect. Let's drag it down one more time, and you can start to see. Now you notice that this is still transparent. Okay, so you can still see the beautiful under it. So if you want something like this, the way to go again is to create a shape, like a rectangle shape, right? After creating a rectangle shape, change the color to white. So you want to make sure that it is perfectly white, and you can see that it's only the layers above this rectangle that are being shown, right? And then you want to select the two layers, that is the one that is directly above the rectangle, which is the one that wants to have a very white solid background. You don't want it to be transparent. And then merge the layers. Once you merge the layers, press your W, click anywhere outside this particular part, and then once you delete, you have your beautiful, and you can see that the other part that was showing what is no longer showing, and it is beautifully hidden under it. So you might just want it to just start somewhere around here, so it creates this sort of like hidden effect. But we are going to be looking more into that in some other videos. Okay, so you can start to see why you can and how you can differentiate these layers into their own individual layers, so that you can create something even more interesting. And then the last step will be having all these layers being grouped into one page, since they are one page layer. So we have test 02, and again we have another page, beautiful one that we can create. And also I'd like to show you that this is not so difficult, because I just started creating this kind of patterns, and you can start to see my very first pattern, which is not so great. You have some intersections and all that. Just have my second page, and this is just not so good. Just have just one brush, and the brush is not so nice at all. Then you have this, and then by the time I've done like about 50 of these, being able to create something even more interesting. Okay, so in the next video I'm still going to be showing you one more way of creating this kind of this kind of pattern. I sort of like this kind of pattern, so I'm going to be showing you how to create something like this. Now there's no rule guiding this, just make sure that it looks good. Okay, so just make sure that it just sort of like looks nice. So there's no rule, just bring in your creativity, have the patterns overlay, and just create something interesting. So there are no rules, you can do it as anyhow as you want, as long as you have a very nice background to work with. Okay, so that will be all in this very video. And the next, I'm going to be showing you how to create something like this. Bye guys.